Hello everyone. Today the topic under discussion is chemical bonding. In this topic we are going to discuss what chemical bond is, why the atoms need to form the chemical bond, and how many types of chemical bonds are. So I hope this is going to help you in solving the past paper questions or any queries. So let's start it. Chemical bond. What chemical bond is? Chemical bond is actually a force of attraction that occurs between the atoms that hold them together. So we can say that it provides the energy which is needed for holding the two different atoms, different or the similar atoms together. That completely depends which type of the bond they are forming. So if we define, as you can see on the screen, so chemical bond is a force of attraction that holds the atoms together. You don't need to mention whether they are two different atoms or similar atoms, because in any way the bond will be formed. So in order to write the proper definition, I'll repeat. Chemical bond is a force of attraction that holds the atoms together, and the strength of the chemical bond completely depends upon the type of the atoms and the molecules which are hold it together. So this is a little definition and introduction of chemical bonding. Let's move further and see why atoms need to form a chemical bond. Where before starting the types, I would like to explain that why atoms need to form the chemical bond. Basically, everything in the universe need to get stable. As the water is flowing from high level to the low level, the electrons are flowing from the high potential to the low potential. So similar is the case with the atoms. Atoms need to get stable, and they need to attain the electronic configuration of the noble gases, as we have already discussed in the periodic table, where we were discussing noble gases, that they are inert. So why the noble gases are inert? Because they have complete outermost shell. How do they complete the outermost shell? They naturally are like that. They have either 2 electrons in their outermost shell, which is a valence shell, or 8 electrons. So if the atom is having 2 electrons in the outermost shell, it means it is following the duplet rule. And if the atom is having 8 electrons in the outermost or valence shell, the atom is following the octet rule. So noble gases, they are inert because they are either having duplet, following duplet, or octet rule. So every atom want to get stable like the noble gases. So for that reason they are forming the chemical bond. And in order to get stable, so if you are being asked the question why atoms form bond, so there are 3 bullet points you can write under this as an answer. The first is to get stable. Number 2, to attain the electronic configuration of noble gases, or you can say they need to complete their outermost shell. So this is all you can write as an answer, that why atoms form chemical bond. So as you can see, it's shown on the screen, the types of the chemical bond. There are 4 or 5, there are many, like 5 if we say coordinate covalent bond, and there are many types, like 5 types of bonding. But we are going to just discuss the ionic bond today. So this video is going to be explaining what is ionic bond, and why it is called as ionic bond, how ionic bond is formed, and which type of the atoms are forming the ionic bond, and what are the properties of the ionic compounds are. So let's move further. In order to define, let me first introduce what ionic bond is. As we know that the bond word is derived from adhesion, like Samad bond, if I'll use a very common word, where you see that the Samad bond is being used as a glue to hold the things together. So bond word is basically holding the atoms together. So if the 2 atoms are held together by ionic bond, so that compound is an ionic compound. And how ionic bond is formed? So ionic bond is formed basically by the transfer of electron. So the one which is having an extra electron in its outermost shell, that atom would love to give away its electron to the atom which is in need of that electron to complete its outermost shell. So mostly metals with the non-metals are forming the ionic bond. As we have already studied and discussed in the periodic table, where we saw that metals are electropositive, so they love to give away the electron, and non-metals are electronegative, so they love to gain their gain the electrons. So what happens? The electron is being transferred from the metal to the non-metal. So here the transfer of electron is occurring, and the other part is the electrons are transferred from the metal to non-metal. So which type of the atoms form ionic bond? Yes, you can guess. Metals and non-metals are forming the ionic bond, because metals can give away the electron easily, and non-metals can take the electron easily. So electron is being transferred from metal to a non-metal. So you can take a screenshot, or you can come back again to the video to see these notes. So ionic bond is when an electron leaves an atom. So when an atom leaves when an electron leaves an atom, exothermically it enters into the orbit of an other atom. Exothermic means energy is released. Right here, right now, I'm not going to explain exo and endo. Just I'm ignoring it, and because I want to just focus on the formation of the ionic bond under the topic the exothermic, endothermic, and energies of the reaction. We will discuss this exo and endothermic reaction. So if you are being asked, what do you mean by ionic bond? So ionic bond is an electrostatic force of attraction. Please note down this word, electrostatic force of attraction, because this word is always required according to the marking scheme while you are writing the answer. So if they ask you define ionic bond, or what do you mean by ionic bond, then you need to write it is an electrostatic force of attraction that holds the ions together. Now see, atoms one atom is losing electron, other is gaining electron. So we know that when an atom, I'm going to go further to explain this. Okay. When an atom loses an electron, as you can see here in the example, that the sodium atom, which is having 11 electrons, 2 in the first shell, 8 in the second shell, and 1 in the outermost shell, is giving away its electron to chlorine atom, which is having 17 electrons. First in the 2, then 8, and then 7. So this is having just 1, and this is having 7 electrons. So it is easier energetically for sodium to lose electron, and it is easier or favorable for chlorine energetically to gain this electron. So when the sodium will lose an electron, it will have a positive charge, as you can see here. And when the chlorine atom is gaining the electron, it is becoming chloride ion, as you can see here. So it is gaining a negative charge. So sodium, after gaining the positive charge, will become sodium ion, and the positive ions are called cations, and the negative ions are called as anions. So this is how ionic bond is formed, by the transfer of electron. And you can follow the same principle by to answer the question, that draw the formation of the sodium chloride by dot and cross diagram. You can use this diagram or this method, but in another video I'm going to explain. My next video will be actually only on that topic, that how we can answer the past paper questions for drawing the formation or showing the formation of the ionic compounds by dot and cross diagram. So for right now, let's wrap it up. First of all, I explained you what chemical bond is. Number 2, I explained why atoms form chemical bond. Number 3, I explained how many types of chemical bond are. And number 4, we discussed that what is ionic bond, and what are ions, what are cations, how they are formed, what are anions, how they are formed. And in my next video, I'm going to explain how we can show the formation of the ionic bonding by dot and cross diagram. And in another video, I'm going to explain that how ionic bonding affect the physical and the chemical properties of the compound, and which type of the question you can expect in the CI exams, and what answers should be written. Thank you so much. I am going to see you again. Take care. Allah Hafiz.